Welcome back to Conversation from the Crossroads of Southern Music History and Culture with Dr. Bob Beatty. My guest today is Drew Smithers, guitarist of the Marcus King Band, also a Duane Allman aficionado and a student of the great Jack Pearson. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff. We got deep into the Allman Brothers, but one of the things that Drew has a lot of experience with and was very open with is intra-band dynamics, how things work with a band beyond just what you're seeing on stage. Drew had a career straight up to the top with a band called Bishop Gunn, and boy, they fell pretty quickly, and Drew found his way into the band with Marcus King. Great guitar partnership. I'm a big fan. Y'all know that. You've seen it around here. Drew's got a lot of reverence, understanding, and love for this story. He's a Southerner, makes his home here in the South, and is in one of the kick-ass Southern bands that's going around right now. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation.
We'll start at the beginning, because I was like, where am I going to start with Drew? And we're going to start with Duane. We're going to start with the Allman Brothers and that whole thing, because my show is Long Live the ABB, Conversation from the Crossroads of Southern Music History and Culture. It's what I write about, what I do. And you're a big part of that legacy in my eyes. Like, your band is, of course, Marcus's band is, you in particular. That's where we bonded. I met you in 2014 when my dear late friend, Jules Fothergill, came to Nashville to play with Jack Pearson. And we showed up at Cotton Music. You were taking lessons. I met your wife at that time. Well, at that time, just girlfriend even. I don't even know if you were engaged.
Yeah, we've been dating for a couple of years. Yeah.
And you were just starting into what became what I found out to know Bishop Gunn. You hadn't really, you're like, I'm working on something. It might be big, etc. But we're going to get into that. But It starts with you like coming to Nashville with a guitar in hand, going to see Jack Pearson for us, right?
Yeah.
But that's journey. Where does Duane fit? Where does the Allman Brothers fit in your life, your approach, your guitar playing, that sort of stuff?
Well, it definitely started, my parents weren't musicians, but avid music listeners and lovers and concert goers. And so my dad's first show was Allman Brothers at MSG in 75, I guess, had been the Win, Lose, or Draw tour.
That's it.
Yeah, man. And, obviously post Duane, but that music was, around the house. They were playing that music. My parents were big Deadheads. Their first date was a Grateful Dead show at MSG in '83. And, my dad taped the shows. He was just, there was always live music being played around the house. And so, it just was a early memory of just hearing that music, especially, Eat a Peach was big, and it was just like a CD that my mom would play in her car. And, I just remember Dickie's solo on One Way Out, and then that slide kind of harmonica sound. I was, what is this? So, I mean, it caught, I didn't start playing until I saw the band live, and it was March 12th, 2005. At the Beacon, and my dad took me to go see them, and Derek and Warren, and man, I just got bit by the bug. And especially slide guitar, that's what really spoke to me. And Derek and Warren were both playing slide, obviously, but then I just went back to the original band and just became pretty obsessed with it all. And just trying to get my hands on as much live recordings as I could. And I know Jules was a big part of some of that stuff that, that's on YouTube, and even some of the Jack era stuff, a lot of live shows from then too. But man, there was just something about Duane and his playing that just I still go to in times where I need some inspiration. And it's just a well of knowledge that I can, always dip into.
It is infinite. Now, let me ask you, when did you pick up a guitar after seeing that show? Was it were you playing guitar and it was like, oh, that's where I'm headed?
I was playing guitar, but it was more like I was, I had the Jack Pearson special. I had a Squire Strat, and I would learn some chords and maybe an AC/DC song or something. But that was seeing that music live was, I remember they opened with Revival, and I was just like, man, I got hit by
Yep.
that train, man. And yeah, my dad, we'd go see, doing the March Madness at the Beacon. My dad would take me. I was like, let's go tomorrow night. Let's go next week, whenever we can. So, um, I saw a lot of shows at the Beacon in between like 2005 and, you know, '08, '09 before I moved to Chicago. So that was, I mean, uh, it was, a learning experience. And then, meeting Jack too. It was just, um, that incarnation of the band was, one of my favorites with him and Dickie, and also Derek and Warren. But the original band, man, that was, it just, you know, every live recording was different. You'd hear Statesboro Blues one night that was totally different from the night before, or even the Fillmore's a good example of just like that was what they played that night.
Yep.
Even though the set kind of stayed the same, and Marcus and I talk about that too, just because we found a set that works, and there's peaks and valleys, and it flows really well, and um, you know, but I think it's, you treat the song like a jazz standard or whatever. There's the verse, there's the chorus, and then the improv. You take it wherever you're feeling, and that's what that band did, man. And you know, even the two versions of Blue Sky, that were live, it was just like there was you might need to fact check me there, but there's a couple right before
There's
Duane
two
passed.
very clear ones. There's
Yeah,
9/16/71 and then 9/19/71
right,
from Stony Brook. Right. There's
right.
a couple others. It sounds real. It's
Yeah,
rough.
right.
But
But I mean, Duane, I mean, they were just a band that it was just the improv alone. It was just worth checking out every version of every song, every different shows. And so I got real down in the hole in that. And, yeah, man.
how did you find Jack? So, because let me say, Jack, I was my first Beacon show was a Jack Pearson, Dickie Betts Beacon show. My first three Beacon shows were actually, and one of the greatest shows I ever saw in my life. So he was, new-ish. He had stepped in the 90s a couple of times. He was not an unknown commodity. He,
Right.
had a credit on Where It All Begins on, I think, All Night Train or Sailing Across the Devil's Sea, I
Hmm.
think. But I
And then
know
Searching for Simplicity, that Greg
Yes,
record.
yes. I know that, but I know that, he is revered as the guitarist among guitarists, including within the Allman Brothers Band. Like all of the guitarists in that band would acknowledge that. So how do you
Yeah.
come to find Jack in this journey, to, and then becoming, like you went and learned at his feet, legit, and you have like carved out this career, not as his apostle disciple or nothing, but like, I mean, I see it. I will, and partially because I was there, like I watched it happen. But, how do you find Jack? And then, like he changed some things in you too, like instantly.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I owe that man. I mean, he taught me everything I know. I mean, um, I moved to Nashville because of him. I was visiting my cousin down there in 2012, and he was playing at Third and Lindsley, and I was like, man, we got to go see him. Let's go. And we went, and Tommy Emmanuel sat in. I just remember I was like, this is what's going on in Nashville.
I was there.
Yeah, you were
Dude.
probably there, man. This is
no
right
shit.
before.
I remember when Tommy Emmanuel came out, I didn't know that was a life-changing, like, so keep going. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Tommy
no.
Emmanuel, this is Nashville. This is where it's happening.
Yeah.
I just can't
And
believe
so,
we were there. That's
yeah,
great.
man. And this was before I moved to town, and I was, talked to Jack after this show, and I was just like, man, I'm just such a fan of you and your playing and just his whole demeanor, and he's just like the sweetest soul in the world. And I was like, do you teach? And because I was, looking to move down to Nashville and wanted to, little change of pace from Chicago. And And he's like, yeah. And so it was within that year I moved down and started taking lessons from him pretty immediately for a couple years straight every week. And, I was bar backing at the Bluebird at the time. So I was just, whatever tip money I had, he would, you know, um, sometimes I wouldn't be able to afford a lesson. And he would, he's like, man, just bring in a quarter. I'll teach you something. He was always willing to, you know, hang and show me something and being that kind of role model for me. And but yeah, I mean he's just like you said. I think everybody who knows Jack or has heard him play will just say the same thing. Like he's just untouchable, and he just really can is so fluent in any genre he plays. I mean, whether it's like gypsy jazz or bebop or his country picking, his bluegrass. I mean, and then it's like the fusion, the Allman Brothers world, the slide guitar. I mean, he can do it all. And
You showed up
yeah,
though playing open E,
yeah,
and you had learned that, I guess, from Derek. Was that your inspiration for? But you were always in
yeah.
open
It
E.
was that, and I was taking lessons with this guy in Chicago, Fernando Jones, and this old blues guy, and he kind of showed me a lot of that stuff too, and Uh, but when I moved down to Nashville, Jack was like, "Why? I mean, let's take a look at standard tuning," which I was like, a G bar chord and stuff. It was like I just skipped over all that because I really wanted just to like get the slide, the singing slide thing down, and so I kind of started back over with Jack as far as like these standard tuning chords, but he also showed me all these inversions, like 13 chords and nine, just like, and how it related to open E. So then my mind could kind of like relate to playing in standard. And that's really just all I play in now is standard. Um, just kind of taking what I knew in open tuning and just kind of like reversing it a little bit.
Did this is a weird question to ask, maybe, and I may not even ask it super well. Um, was he telling you were limiting yourself by playing in open E only, like that if you played in standard you had a much wider palette, or was he saying you're stuck here at this point and if you go over to standard tuning you are never going to like, and not that you were stuck or not playing well, but like if you want to learn, this is what you like, what
Yeah, I think
was
there's kind of some pluses and minuses with both, with open tuning and standard, especially with slide. It's like with open tuning, it tends to lean a little more blues like, or you get those inflections like the blues inflections in there. But with in standard, you gotta like there's a lot more right hand muting because you can't just be on a fret and it sound good, you know. Uh you can. I mean, I've done it. It's like in open tuning, you're just on the 12th fret. It's like a E chord, But if you're on the 12th fret and playing all the strings in standard, it's like an E minor seven. So it could you. There's like pluses and minuses and
right?
ways that you can kind of manipulate both of them. But yeah, it was more just kind of like why just this? And let me show you some of this and then he had some other tunings too which are so cool, man. He just he really opened my eyes just to just the possibility of like you don't have to just play slide and open tuning, you can do it in standard and that's just kind of my thing now, which
Yeah,
thank you,
it
Jack.
certainly became your career
Yeah,
there. And
yeah,
I saw, we talked about it a little bit with Jules.
yeah,
You got a chance to meet him. He was the similar disciple. In fact, at one point Jules started dressing like Jack. He would wear the overalls with the cap. He got himself a black, I think he
yeah,
got himself a black GNL Strat. He was playing that, doing I'm Not
yeah.
Crying.
Oh
Um
man,
and
I mean,
that night that we met, the day we met, like that their story of how they ended up in Nashville is the craziest story ever. But he basically, they drove from, I think, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan to Nashville. And then the next day they got up and drove to New York. And when Jules told me like their itinerary, I said, dude, you realize how big the United States of America is? Like, it's
It's a
really
long
big.
drive.
They hung out a bit. They played in the room at Cotton Music. And then we went out to Meat and Three, the one right down the street, which name I can't remember. Was it Sweats? Is there a Sweats in that neighborhood? Anyway.
Arnold's? Maybe? I don't know.
No, it was not Arnold's. It was not
Okay.
Arnold's. But anyway, we come back in and we go upstairs and they have two acoustic guitars. And those two, my friend, Jules and Jack Pearson, God, are sitting on a bench together, kind of facing each other. And Lorna's right there. She sings a couple of times. I like to hear you sing. But I watched those two play for 2.5 hours. And really, it was, that's like closest I'll get to something like watching Duane play at the Gatlinburg sessions or something, right?
Oh, man. Hearing those recordings, those Gatlinburg, I mean, just to be on a fly on the wall, singing those
kills me there's not more of it. Honestly, I've always, when you look at, the Dead have 5 years on them or 4 years on them and a taping or archival mentality right out of the chute. The Allman Brothers never had that, at least until the 80s, 90s when they started documenting it. But it does kill me, we have those, that pastiche of stuff on the first side, and then the other side has My Favorite Things and, the kind of attempts at Blue Sky.
Yeah, What Turned Into Blue Sky. I know, just hearing Duane sing those, Jimmy Rogers songs, just so cool, man. I mean, telling Jaimoe to roll a joint.
Jaimoe, can you roll one? Yeah, I'll roll one. Yeah, I'll roll one.
Oh, man. But yeah, I mean, going back to Jules and Jack, seeing, Cotton was a special spot, man. And I was working at Carter Vintage too at that time. So I was working and I would leave early or whatever to go to Cotton to take lessons. And, both those guitar shops hold a special place in my heart for sure.
Amen to that. And, I remember, we reconnected one time at Carter one time when I was up there just chilling with my daughter. And you that's where you met your current boss. And what year was that y'all met?
Met him 2016.
Marcus King, we're talking about, everybody. I will introduce this as well, but we should put his name into the thing. 2016.
Yeah.
You were still in Bishop Gunn.
Yeah, yes? I was in Bishop Gunn, and we were, on and off the road. Whenever I was home, I was picking up hours at the guitar shop, and yeah, Marcus came in. I remember it was a Sunday because it was a kind of a half day, and he came in and we just hit it off talking. I've shown guitars. We're passing the guitars back and forth, whatever. And he was like, man, let me go out to the van and get you a vinyl. You listen to vinyl? I was like, yeah. And so he brought me back in his self-titled record with, and a lighter. And I was looking at the record. I was like, produced by Warren and Derek and Kofi and all these people are on it. Like, who are you, man? Anyway, so Sarah and I and a couple of the guys in Bishop Gunn actually went to the show that night. He was playing Third and Lindsley, and we went and killing band, man, and obviously just like a powerhouse vocalist and guitar player. And I was like, man, I gotta keep my eye out for this guy. And flash forward maybe fall of 2017, we had Bishop Gunn and Marcus had the same booking agent, so they put us on the road together, and we were opening up for him during I think it was the Carolina Confessions tour. And man, my favorite part of the night was just sitting in with Marcus, and we'd do some Allman Brothers Band or Marshall Tucker Band, to finish the night, and that was yeah, man. I just started hanging out with those guys, and just loved playing with Marcus. I mean, we just had like this chemistry, and and we had talked about doing like a side project or whatever it was, and um, but yeah, man. So it was that's when I met him at Carter's, and I think it was 2015 or 16, and then Bishop Gunn opened for them like the following year. So we became close and stayed in touch, obviously, and did that Capricorn studio reopen. The I forget the name they called it. It was like the reopening of the studio,
Okay.
and in December of 2019, and me and Marcus got to play Statesboro Blues with Taj Mahal, and I got to play Duane's Gold Top on that tune. I was like, what? But yeah, man, me and him have had some good moments together, and good, and they keep happening,
There's this is interesting. It's interesting to me. You joined when you joined Marcus, he had a pretty robust catalog and like 2 records, I think, in the can ready to go before you appeared on a record.
Mhm.
So you inherited a lot of stuff. And, as a, as somebody who knows you, follows you, like I feel obligated. And I started, to dig into Marcus's stuff and realize, man, this guy's catalog is deep and he's a young guy still.
Yeah.
So let's, quickly, just take as much time as you want. How do you figure out where to fit yourself in? Because live, with those songs that existed before. Now you've been there a couple years now. You have your parts worked out, but how did it go?
Digging this story? I know you are. Head to longlivetheabb.com, hit subscribe there, maybe upgrade to a paid membership. Vitamin ABB, trust me, I'm a doctor.
Yeah, it was definitely, he had never had another guitar player in the band, so I didn't have something to study or work off of, or um like it was different when I was playing with like I did some days with Blackberry Smoke filling in for Benji Shanks, great slide player, and big shoes to fill for me. And but I had kind of a roadmap as far as what he's doing, and I was able to kind of study that. With Marcus, I didn't have any of that, and um, the first I was on the road with Blackberry Smoke when Marcus called and was like, "Hey, man, we're doing some New Year's Eve dates in Greenville, and 2 nights, and would love for you to come, and we're gonna do some dual guitar, some Tucker and some Allman Brothers, whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'd love to be there." And so he sent me like 60 tunes, but there was not another guitar player, to learn the part. So I just had to really just come up with my own parts or fit in where I could. And a lot of it was playing slide because he is such, a great, player, threading player and slide player. But so I was just like, well, I'll just find my lane with a little slide, embellishments here and there. And, but I did have a lot of questions. I remember that first gig, I was like, so man, do you want to like run through some of these, or, and he's like, man, I trust you. You got a good ear and you know when to lay out, is what he said. I was like, okay. And so, and yeah, man. And it's, that was 6 years ago or something now. And, but yeah, now flash forward, like we just had, um, Darlin' Blue come out as the first record that I've been a part of with this project. And I was like, now I have like my parts and stuff that
Yep.
that I can play, and I feel a little more confident about just my playing in the band because I have like I don't feel like I'm like stepping on anybody's toes or whatever, because there's actually like another guitar part. So it was a little different from the first time I joined to now, for sure.
Yeah. You guys have adapted. And of
Yeah.
course, right. You did. So on the record, you worked out your own parts, wrote your
Hmm.
own parts and those sorts of things, like typical band type
Yeah.
thing. Marcus obviously did his own parts or had another person. I don't know, but like I always, he's such a great guitar player
Mm-hmm.
and was a
100%.
solo guy for a really long time to watch the kind of synergy work itself out. And then he'll play an acoustic guitar a lot,
Yeah.
which I can appreciate. I'd love to strum an acoustic guitar and sing a
Yeah,
good
man.
song.
He's a
And
great acoustic player too. Yeah.
yes, so were you like you said, it's the one thing when you listen to Allman Brothers, right? You're like, it shouldn't work. 2 lead guitar players, a lead bassist, and 2 drummers.
Yeah.
Like that just should not be working. But everybody kind of finds their spot within the part to make it this, this whole that just sounds so beautiful.
Right. Yeah.
And your lineup changes. He brings horns in, he brings background singers in occasionally. How does that change or affect anything for you on those earlier songs? Did it?
Yeah. It's funny because that Nashville show we did, and you were there. It was, you know, um, there's some pedal steel licks on the records and stuff that Paul Franklin did, and Paul Franklin came and sat in with us, and I've just been trying to copy his parts for the live show or whatever, depending on what song. And I was like, oh, now I can just like let him do it, and I'm not butchering it or um, trying to sound like a pedal steel, but I love when we have our horn section, and we have Chris Spees out with us right now. We just have our saxophone player, which is kind of cool. It's like a King Curtis vibe, or Juicy Card, just like the one solo horn. But he's
Don't
also
say
singing
Juicy
the.
Carter in my presence, dude. I just threw up
But
in my
it
mouth a
reminds
little bit.
me of
I know
just
what
like
you're saying.
just like the single horn, and because sometimes it could sound naked without a trumpet or trombone or whatever it is. But whenever the full horn section is there, man, it's such a blast and just powerful, um, and some of them sing backgrounds too, and but Marcus, man, he's got such a powerhouse voice. Like I feel like he doesn't. I mean, the background vocals I know just lift him up, but it's just like he doesn't. I mean, he's just a powerhouse, man, vocally, and um. But yeah, I think he likes to have that big band mentality. I know Duane wanted, horns and all that, Tom Doucette, and
He wanted, and he offered Bobby Caldwell a job,
mhm.
and the band said hell no. And I've had that story actually verified, not directly from Bobby, but through Jimmy Chamberlain, who heard it directly from Bobby that I told
Really?
him. Yeah, I was like, he had put something up on Bobby Caldwell, and I said, I don't know if you know, but he was almost in the Allman Brothers.
Yeah.
But no, yes, I put that in the book because that was something that Tom said in Alan Paul's In One Way Out was Duane would have had like 50 people in the band, or he
Right.
said he would have grown the band, and I think it was Jaimoe might have said he had 50 people.
Right.
And that's why I was just about to ask you about that, about the band, because the size.
Yeah.
Like that's an observation that I'm glad that you brought Duane into it, because that's a part of it. Like you can be the hot shot guitarist, frontman, which he is and can be and has been, but there's a comfort level to be found with your mates,
right,
in a band setting that you're comfortable, and I say that as an observer. You're saying it from the inside. I also will say, as a longtime student of this, like there is
me too.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah. You come to it from that same nerdy angle.
Yeah.
Because I am fascinated by intra band dynamics. When you look at the bands from the 60s, all of whom formed young people who all made it up as they went along, right? There was no like rock industry that you are a part of back then. And drugs and fame and success and money became a real,
Yeah.
But when it all comes down to
you can't get away with that stuff these days.
And right.
You can't.
And you, because, and the other thing is, like, everybody learns, like, if you do that, it's a legit dead end, like
Right.
DEAD end,
Mm-hmm.
or it can be.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
thing that I always think about it with bands is it's like a marriage. You get married super young. Duane, Dickie, Butch, those guys got in a marriage,
Mm-hmm.
6 people,
Yeah.
they lose 2, and they're stuck with each other because the only way they're truly fulfilled as artists is when they're together.
Right. And playing and yeah.
And that hasn't really changed, has it?
No. Yeah. I agree, man. The the hang off stage has to be as good as the hang on stage, and there has to be a certain level of respect for one another, um and just getting to know one another. I mean, it's like you said, it's a marriage, it's a relationship, and you need to work at it. um you know and I think playing the gig and all of that, we kind of let out our steam on stage, and it's a healthy way to do it, I think. And just the camaraderie aspect of it, like you don't want to be beaten down the road with a bunch of guys that don't care about you or what you have going on at home, and vice versa, you know um and I unfortunately had that with the previous band I was in, and I was like, this is what it's not about at all. And but yeah, with this band, man, and group, it's everyone respects one another, and there's a lot of laughs and joking around and just good times, and uh and it shows on stage, I think. you know um People can tell that we're brothers, and having doing what we love to do, and the ping pong effect with the crowd, and just it's yeah, man, it's important to have each other's backs, and to, because it reflects in the music.
It's just like any family dynamic, right? The one who's the asshole all the time is really just not a popular person, and nobody wants to be around them. And
Hmm.
if I think in a band situation, you are not necessarily stuck with the asshole unless the asshole is the boss, in which
Right.
case you're actually not stuck either.
Right.
You can choose to exit from the
Yeah.
situation.
Right.
There are, I think, like I'm glad to hear you talk about being a student of this as well, because there are very healthy ways to
I'll
do
always
what
be
you
a
do.
student first, man.
Yeah. And
Always.
that is one of the things we've spoken about, offline a lot, like I watch how this goes, and, like, it's not an easy, like, you're a family man, you're a very low key dude. I mean, I've never seen you lamppost on your head, running down
Yeah.
the street crazy. You do your job. You're very professional, but you're also very friendly, fellow. You
Yeah, man.
seem very unaffected by everything that's around you. Um, where does that come from?
That's a good question. I think I got a lot of I learned a lot in with the Bishop Gunn guys, and that was a test for a few years for sure. And just to going back to like the drugs and the boozing, and the women of the bands in the 60s and 70s. I mean, like, that's what those guys were there for. It wasn't about the music. It was for the party. And I like to have a good time too, man. But I also, I'm not out here and playing these shows. Like, that doesn't come second. Like, that's always number one. And and with this band, for everybody, it is like we're there for the music. And it's just it was, but that being said, like, I feel like I just got not numb to it, but just, I'd have to deal with a lot of shit with the Bishop Gun guys. And I don't think like, shit with this band, it doesn't affect me as much, or maybe I've just dealt with it before. So I appreciate you saying that, though.
Yeah. I think I think you're reflecting on a combination of like your experience and your
Yeah,
personality as well. Like your guitar hero, Derek Trucks, your original one is like what that Jack Pearson is certainly like that as well, completely
yeah,
unaffected by what's going on around.
yeah.
Who you are as a human. And you did have this experience where you were on the mountaintop, headed up. I mean, very much with Bishop Gunn. That band had a lot of
Oh
support
man,
behind them, lots of opportunities. You guys recorded at Muscle Shoals Sound. You were the
yep.
first band that recorded there.
After the ribbon cutting, after they opened back up,
The
yeah.
first band to record at Muscle Shoals Sound.
Shine was the first single that came out of that studio since they reopened it, and yeah, man. I mean, that was getting to record there. Also, Hollowed Ground. I know one of Duane's last sessions there, or one of his last sessions was "Please Be With Me" with Cowboy, and that was, um, you know, I'll, we also did a record at Fame. So doing, Muscle Shoals and Fame with that band was so special, man. And I don't regret my time with that band at one bit. It was such a learning experience. I was grateful for, you know, the time I, played in that band and all the experiences we got to do. We got to open for the Rolling Stones at NRG Stadium in Houston. Um, and Yeah, man, that was a cool show. I remember we were in the middle of a run, and Duane's Gold Top was in auction during that time, but it hadn't sold yet. And a buddy, good friend of mine, Richard Brent, um, called me and he's like, "Man, I'm gonna be down at the that Stones gig y'all are doing in Houston." And he's like, "You want me to bring the Gold Top?" And I was like, "Man, I don't want to have you travel with it. Like, that's so kind of you, but I just, would love to see you anyway." But he said, "But I want to hear it in a stadium." And I said, "Okay, well, yes, you should bring it then." And so he brought that guitar, and during sound check, we got to play it through Ronnie Wood's rig, and all those guys were super kind and let us, we're just passing that guitar back and forth and playing, through Ronnie's rig, and his guitar tech was showing us some of his guitars, and it was a special night. I remember handing Richard the guitar off stage after the gig. He said, "Bro, you won't believe this. It just sold. It sold that night." I think the date was July 27th, 2019. But yeah, he said it sold that night for 1.25. And anyway, then we got to go back and meet Keith and Mick and Ronnie and Charlie Watts still alive at that time. And um, so I don't know what was cooler, man. That experience playing Duane's Gold Top in a stadium or getting to meet the Stones. But I would say that getting to talk to Charlie Watts, and he talked to us about recording down at Muscle Shoals Sound too. And um, it was it was a trip. But yeah,
the
we got to do some cool things.
you did get to do some cool shit. The guys that went up to the mountaintop, and then you kind
And
of be
straight
able to
down.
hung out and found another way, sort of out there. I will tell you, you may recall this. I think it was 2019. We were going to go to a Tedeschi Trucks Band show together at the Ryman, and we went to have a beer somewhere around Carter's,
Uh-huh.
and we were talking about, you had just left Bishop Gunn, and I was like asking you some very, just casual questions about it. And then we started talking about Marcus, and you go, "Marcus needs to hire me." And I was like, "Yeah, he
I
does."
said, that's funny. Maybe I was because yeah, that must have been 2020 because I
Okay.
remember leaving Bishop Gunn on Valentine's Day, 2020, and right before the world shut down. But yeah, I do remember. I think Tedeschi Trucks was at the Ryman around then, and um, but see the Capricorn gig that we did in Macon that Mark and I did, we were talking like, man, we got to do something, and So maybe that was just in the back of my mind as like, man, he needs to hire me. Part
Well,
of me just needed to get a gig again.
yes, like, look, dude, this is the way I see it: is you had lost the gig,
Yeah. I
and
jumped out before the ship sank, and
right
it
there,
sank.
and the fact of the matter is, the gig was over, and you were go into new territory, and that is the direction that you naturally go. I would imagine you'd go find a guitar partner. I'm not a front man
Yeah.
necessarily, or don't desire to go that
Right.
route, and I think that like what I see in y'all's dynamic, and I've talked to you about this before, like for Marcus on his way up, you must be a really good ear for what is going on around because of your experience, and clearly he trusts you with that. I'm not asking you,
Yeah.
like, I don't want to get into the depths of your relationship, but
Oh, yeah,
that seems to be the case.
for sure, man. There's a lot of mutual respect for one another, and um, for me, just coming in as a second guitar player in the band, and him not having one before, like I don't take that lightly. And um, we're both completely different players too, but come from the same drinking well, and so there's all like what we're listening to, like it's or what we grew up with, it's embedded in us and all that. And um but like when it comes to like improvising, I mean, it's we could always meet back up, but we'll go separate. We'll take it completely different from night to night. Whether he takes one or I take one, or they'll yeah. It's funny how that works. But being like coming from the same kind of place, and what our inspirations are, it works.
I think you said it really well. Is your styles they're similar enough that not even styles, your influences are the same.
Yeah.
The way that you manifest those influences comes out in what your personality
Right.
is. And of course, you know how I feel about the need to turn you up in the mix a couple years back to make sure that we could hear that what you were
Yeah.
adding there.
Yeah.
um, Thankfully, a problem that has long been solved. But just to
Well,
say for everybody, like Drew and I do go a few years back, and I followed his career. We stay in touch. I'm a
yeah, man.
rock star to my kids because if Marcus King Band is near, they call me up, Daddy. Can we go see Marcus King Band? But when
Yes,
he first
sir.
joined Marcus King Band, I just did not think Drew wasn't loud enough in the mix, and I was struggling to. And I mean, I hear it in only one ear anyway.
Right.
That was a birth defect, but I know what I'm listening for when I'm listening for,
Yeah.
especially my people playing. And so, but again, your styles are very complementary. He is a completely otherworldly guitarist. The way he plays is, I don't know anybody else who really attacks the guitar the way
Hmm.
that he does.
Yeah.
And when your boss turns his guitar up to that 45-degree angle or so and really starts digging, that's when
Yeah.
like that's like Dickie Betts when he would set his jaw and sort of walk out toward the edge of the
He
stage.
means
That's like
business.
Marcus's tell,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's about to
And
dig in.
there's no fucking with that for sure.
Are there moments when you guys are pushing each other?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. We did 2 nights ago. We were in Oakland at the Fox Theater there, and man, it was like one of those gigs where it just felt like so right, and just like creative and dynamic, and um inspired. There's when you're on the road for 2 months at a time, there's shows that stick out, and you always try to kind of chase that one. But um but a couple nights ago in Oakland, I'd say that was one of my favorites of the run. Just and 2 nights ago, so we're still pushing, and feeling inspired, and just playing these old nice theaters, man, too. It's like you can really those are great rooms for this band, and just because you can really be dynamic. And I think that's so important, especially we have all these marshals on stage now, which a little reminiscent of the early ABB, and setting them up behind Jack, the drummer, so it's nice when it can kind of get to a lull, or Marcus is playing an acoustic part or whatever, and the crowd's listening. It's these rooms have been really great on this run.
You like those theaters? I love theaters as an audience member. Yeah,
man, me too. I think they just sound better on stage, and I hope it translates to the front of house. I think it does, but it's those rooms are inspiring for sure. And we doing a lot of festivals too, and it's just kind of harder to make it translate when you're playing outside um or
yeah.
in in arenas or even bigger rooms.
Yes, no, I like you can always feel that, right? Like it's obvious that you're playing to a different way of doing than when you're sitting there and you can see people, or that you can feel the
Right.
room do its thing, clearly.
Yeah.
The outdoor festival thing, and even for a band like yours, what you guys are a great festival band because you've got a set that'll just keep people's attention for that period of time. You're there to please your fans and sell some tickets from your fans, please your fans, but also pick a few more up and
100%.
let everybody see your best.
Yeah.
A theater show is a little bit longer, and we're going to want to sit down and, we're going to mostly appreciate that more breadth of what you have. Like you can do it both. You can do it in all settings, but
it translates better in that kind of setting for sure.
Just like it would if you guys were sitting here playing in my room, in my basement office, right? Like 100%. If I was listening to you, watching you, feeling the air move out of the amps.
Yeah. You'll feel them.
All right. Got a couple. How much time we got, dude? I don't want to keep you too long. We're sitting at about an hour here.
We're good.
All right. Did you, and I'm going to edit this. You good with how we talked about Bishop Gunn? You don't want to go any deeper in that shit, right? I didn't want to either.
Yeah. Up to you.
Yeah. You're good? Okay. Hey, all right. Let's get back into Allman Brothers for a second, because I think it was one of my joys to see you play with Jaimoe and Big Band of Brothers. I spoke to Lamar Williams Jr. Last week on the podcast. Actually just published that episode. So I told him I was talking to you. He had the same thing. He goes, my Big Band of Brothers, homie,
man.
And
that was such a blast, man.
What a super cool project. Just, my only complaint, this, I told you, was the fact there was no guitar solo in Dreams. Like, are you kidding me?
that was one of my complaints too. But I wasn't gonna, push
a
for
random trombone solo.
Yeah,
from
it's a trombone can kind of act as a slide guitar.
Not when you got Jules Smithers on stage with a slide in his hand.
Yeah, that one is like, that's a special song, man, to play over too. But you get into a room like Derek and Warren, it was either Derek doing the Brett part or the slide part, or vice versa, But I've been in situations because Duane did both parts on the record. And so some people treat it as just one solo, not like you play the slide part and I'll play the fretting part. So that was one. I mean, we played a whipping post in G, which was strange. Not strange, but it's just different from how you would usually play it. But yeah, man, that was I don't take being asked to do that gig lightly. I will, Jaimoe took a chance on me, and I just forever grateful to share the stage with that man.
Jaimoe made the choice to have you in the band?
Well, I mean, it was I think a collective decision. They could have gotten anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we did a gig. We did that. I think our first gig was at the Grand Opera House in Macon, and that was really special. And then we did that run in Florida, and I know you were there for
two
of them. And Jaimoe had my back too, man, because we're playing in a lot of horns, a lot of microphones on stage, and to get some of that tone that you need to play, and to give Dickie and Duane, to play that part, like to give it a little justice, like the tone needs to be there. And these guys, these front of house guys, or who, I mean, the venue guys working there are like, man, it needs to turn down. And Jaimoe always had my back. He's like, well, man, he needs to get the tone. And so I remember building like um, these like forts. I think I was playing through a twin, and we would build these like forts around the amp. Like there's like a bunch of like packing blankets, whatever, road cases in front of it. But we got there. I
Yeah.
was. But I remember he had my back, man, and just to be able to travel with him in a 15 passenger van with him and Lamar down down Florida, and just hearing stories, or just just to be a part of a day in the life in that man's world. I mean, I'm just grateful to be a part of his orbit for a little bit, man.
It
For
was a
sure.
super cool project, and I spend a lot of people will send me Allman, the clips of tribute bands and all these things and all. It's great. I have no criticism about it, right? People know I love this band, and so their legacy is continuing on in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
You playing Ramblin' Man with Marcus, maybe one of these days we'll hear Outskirts of Town again at a rehearsal or something. Wink, wink.
There we
But
go.
like you guys carrying it through, or you got Derek and Warren doing their thing and blah blah blah. But then you've also got really some people taking really unique spins. There's a tribute band, Stealing Peaches, out of Orlando that does From the Madness of the West. And for me, just because you're going to tackle that cocaine infused speed song, and they do a ripping version of it too. So the
That's
Big
awesome.
Band of Brothers project it was so cool to say, I'm going to take this music and make it into big band jazz arrangements.
Yeah.
It was a cool project.
It sure
like
was,
a cool
man.
concept.
I was grateful to be asked to do it, and that was coming out of the pandemic too. So it was, some of the shows got canceled, or just moved around.
Y'all had
some
a
of the
run.
dates.
Did you do the run without Jaimoe? Also,
Never did. No.
So he did.
No.
There was a run in the Pacific Northwest or something he didn't do in like January.
I didn't do that either. I didn't. Maybe.
And then yours.
Okay. Yeah. Every show that I did with that project was Jaimoe was there, and it was the band was great, and the record's so cool too. I thought, like, I know Jack's got a ripping solo on Stand Back, and some of the keys were different than what we're, like I was saying, like Whip and Post is a G. I think Stand Back was an F. There's like more like kind of catered to the horn players.
To their horn keys, right?
Yeah. And but yeah, man, and but to play that music and have a different spin on it, and I know it was special for Jaimoe too, just being wanting to be in a jazz group growing up, and then meeting Duane and all that. So I think it was kind of, maybe not full circle, but I think it was special for him to hear these songs that he helped create with a little bit of a different spin on them.
The spin, right? The spin that he one of the ones that he really prefers. And if you recall, I don't think he had played since the Brothers show in April of 2020. I could be wrong about that, but I think that there was also a long gap. I know that he's been out playing a lot. He played Jazz Fest. That was exciting as hell. Did you see that? He sat in with TTB. He flew to Jazz Fest.
I saw that.
Sat in with TTB on Dreams and Whip and Post. You're like,
saw that, man. We did Jazz Fest is so special. We did that. We played the Orpheum there, and there's like a little speakeasy downstairs after, and some of the guys that own the theater were like, go down there and have a drink or whatever. And we go down there, and Bobby teases at the bar, Derek Shatarte. I was like, what are you doing in town? And he's like, oh man, Derek and Sue just sat in across the street with the Meters, and they were all like in the next room with Danny McBride, and it was like that's just jazz fest for you. It's like you never know who you're going to run
Wow.
into. But Jaimoe wasn't there, but I missed him by a day. And man, I did see that I'm so glad that he's still willing to travel and do and play. And
Yep.
maybe there will be another big band run. I would love that.
That would be badass.
Yeah.
That would be a dream of mine. Wow, man, you hit so many of these questions. Let's talk about like Ramblin' Man. That's
Yeah.
the one that it seems like you guys have said this is the one we're gonna do. You completely own it. Nobody really had. It's surprising to me that song had such a long layoff from public consciousness.
Right.
Because it's a banger.
Totally.
It's a banger.
It's a heavy song to pull out. I mean, it's like the recording, you can't beat it. You know, so it's like
yeah.
you don't. It's like one of those ones. It's like, do we even touch it? I remember we're opening up for Stapleton on a run, and Marcus just started kind of playing it and or singing it or something, and I was like, it's a good reminder just to like go back and like freshen up on those guitar harmonies. And by the next sound check, it was like, let's try it. And so, it just one of those songs that really caters to this project. And um, you know, because the record was in G. I remember Dwayne Beth telling me like they sped it up a little bit. That's why it's in
So
G
much so that
sharp.
Dickie couldn't sing it.
Yeah, so it's like G sharp-ish, in between, somewhere between G and A. But we do it in A, and I think it fits Marcus's vocals pretty well. And it's been a crowd pleaser. Like I think, we get into these situations where we're talking like a festival or opening up for a band, or I think anybody can relate to that song or has heard it maybe once before. So it's familiar. And it draws people to your set,
It's one of the things so funny. We were talking about sets. We were talking about festivals. I
Yeah.
love them because when I'm going to a theater show, it's church. I'm going to church. I'm paying
Yep.
attention. I don't want to be distracted. I don't
Yeah.
need balloons. I don't need any of that. Just
Right.
want to
Just here
go
to
listen to
listen.
my music. Right.
Yeah.
When I go to a festival, I don't have that like often hanging over me. Even when I want to see my band, I know that I am there among, more people and whatnot. Right. But the best part about festivals is the sampler effect, right? It's like getting a greatest hits collection or somebody making you a great mixtape. You're like, I can check out all these bands that I've heard or listened to a little bit and, whatever else. I'm
Right.
always slightly annoyed when a great band doesn't add a great cover to their set. And not slightly annoyed may be the wrong thing because look, it ain't up to me what they play. I'm just appreciate a great cover for what it is, which is here's a little gift to you, something you already know and you're going to enjoy, and we fucking love it too.
Exactly. And it's just like a connection, if not anything else, just like, okay, well, the crowd can see what we're listening to or where we're coming from. And if they like that song too, then maybe they'll like one of our original songs even more because of it, yeah, there's something to be said about putting a good cover in the set. Yeah, I don't, you get into these situations too. Like, last night we had a strict curfew. So we made the curfew, but we didn't have time to do another song. So it's like, we want to do one more. And usually Ramblin' Man's like the last one, but it was still a good crowd, but there was also a DB limit last night too. So we had to turn down, but I think we didn't end up paying a fine. So that's good.
I do remember one time when Marcus had gone over like 2 minutes at the festival set down there in Florida, and there was a little bit of like chitter chatter, like he had kind of pissing people off for pushing the limit.
Sometimes there's no clock on stage, it's like, I didn't know we got to finish the song though. But yeah, you never know what you're getting into. But sometimes, maybe those bands did have a cover in mind, but didn't get to it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. I thank you. I will accept with grace. It was my chance to say how much I enjoy like a really well placed cover in a set, something like unique and different, or
and
just
maybe
their own
earlier
take
in the set too, so people can relate to the rest of your set, and maybe if it's
You know,
just not at the end.
you've obviously spent some time as you play guitar looking out and pondering these questions about sort
Yeah.
of how does this work, right?
Yeah.
You know, Marcus happens to be a great front man who does, you know, he's got the crowd thing going. He's been doing
Yeah.
this, despite how young he is, a
Yeah.
long time. He's
Yeah.
been a band leader.
Yeah.
The Ramblin' Man has so a couple times I've seen it, like back when Warren first joined the band, he always wore a vest to get his slide out of. But Derek Forward, it's just been in your pocket. Everybody's done it. And I've watched you a couple times because that's a tricky ass lick to be playing. You're playing with your fingers, not a pick. You're doing the harmony licks, and then all of a sudden you got to reach in that pocket and pull that slide out and hit that
sometimes
Dickie
it's
Betts.
deeper than you think too when you reach in that pocket and you're like, oh no, it's a little bit.
What's that feeling like, Drew? Share that feeling with the masses.
I don't know. If you get it in time, then there's no better feeling too. But sometimes, you know, you might be just a little late, and hey, we're all human here. But yeah, man, it's to play that song and the guitar harmonies at the end and like the big slide, you know, that Dickie does. I mean, it's iconic, um, and you know, it's just. I mean, as a band, I would say it's like one of our favorite songs to play right now.
Yeah. And you have to enjoy, let me back up.
Yeah.
I was just reading this quote about this guy who saw the Allman Brothers in September of 1916. I'm going to read it to you actually, because you will be like, are you kidding me?
What year?
They
69?
opened, this is 69. This is September 69 in Tampa. The other group on the program, they opened for John Mayall. The other group on the program was the Allman Brothers, an organ and three guitars with little to distinguish them except a special sound that came through best in Mississippi blues piece. But this is the piece I want to say about enjoying yourself on stage. The Allman Brothers concentrate on nothing but playing. They rarely look at the audience and show no emotion, though occasionally one appears to be enjoying his work. You have to watch closely to catch that rare expression.
Hey, they were about the music. It wasn't a matter of what they were wearing on stage, or you know, it was about what they were playing, and they were focused, man. And I mean, there's something to be said about that. You know, I think a lot of bands nowadays maybe care more about the image more than the material or whatever. But if you're in it for the right reasons, I think people see that, you know.
You know, in their case, right, I think this person is maybe a little bit off because the very little video footage we see doesn't show a group not enjoying themselves. And even the photos look like they're having a goddamn great time.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
when they're on stage, their mouths are open, their bodies look like they're in motion, they're smiling.
They're focused, though. They are focused.
Deeply focused on what they're doing. There's a picture in the book. It's right here. It's Carter Tomasi. I've had it on the wall forever. It's from Atlanta, Duane's last Atlanta show, 7/17/71. There's a series of shows. It's got Barry, Duane, Dickie in the middle, leaning back, and then Greg in the background, looking straight at Dickie. You got Butch looking straight at Dickie, and then Jaimoe's just doing his drums, of course.
Yeah.
But that reflects it, right? Like they are all seriously, deeply into what the guy who is saying the most or leading the conversation
lifting
at that
up
moment is doing.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's what I hear in the Allman Brothers. I know it's what you heard and hear and pursue, because we just had an entire conversation about it.
Yeah, they were all listening. They were all caring about what each other had to say, and feeding off that and lifting them up. And I mean, I don't think there's a better band that did it, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
2 last questions.
Yeah, man.
Where do you find community?
Ooh, it's a good question. I mean, man, I live in a beautiful community, and you know, so I would say, where do I find community? I find it at home and on the tour bus. You know, it's I've you know, but also on stage and through the crowd, and you know, it's but man, I'm grateful to be a part of a really artistic community down outside Nashville, and also just being the community of the band, um, on stage and off stage. I think I'm surrounded by it, man, which I'm blessed because of that.
Yeah, and you it seems to me you actively cultivate it. Um,
You have to. I
if
mean,
this situation when you walked into with Marcus was toxic, you would not have stuck around, I'm assuming, given what you had already experienced with Bishop
yeah, I
Gunn,
wasn't going to do
correct?
that again. I wasn't going to
Yeah,
do what I just did again. And, I think, you learn from that and you move on. And, I always thought Bishop Gunn was such uh, it was where I needed to be at that time and also a stepping stone, you know, and, just grateful for all the opportunities and, that I had with that project and the ones that I've had with Marcus too. And, and,
months
uh,
to come.
and ones to come. Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say, all right, one last one, the
Yeah,
South.
man.
You're
Yeah.
not a Southern, you weren't born here, but you got here, as Barry Oakley said, as soon as you had enough sense. That's at least what we'll say, but you have made
Yeah.
the South your home,
Yeah.
Marcus, and most of the band, if not all of them, they're all Southerners as well.
Yeah.
Um, how does the South impact you? Or what are your thoughts on the South? Let me
Well,
just throw it that way. I don't even
yeah,
need
I
to ask
mean,
a specific one.
my my mom is from Mobile. I had a Southern lady and cooking in my house growing up, and she was one of five sisters and my grandmother, and whenever I would go down to visit my grandma in Fairhope, Alabama every year, and I just remember her peeling the backs off crabs and making her gumbo and her fried chicken, and I always loved the culture, the food, and my mom was also raised me to say yes, ma'am, and no, sir, and so there's a lot of that, but also I was living in Southern California, and then I went to high school in Connecticut. I was born in San Francisco. My brother was born in Mobile. Just moved around a lot, but that Southern mentality and hospitality was always in and around my home. So, you know, and moving to Nashville, like it's obviously very prevalent there. And I married a South Carolina girl. And Marcus and the band being from South Carolina, I feel like I'm an honorary South Carolinian um and through my wife really. But you know, it's a way of life, and I think, it's the culture, the music, the history of, of the South and surrounding area. I mean, man, even like being in a band with the Mississippi guys like in Bishop Gunn, like in Natchez, Mississippi is, I mean, that's you know, kind of at the bottom of the delta, and
Yep, it's
when I was,
Crossroads. That is,
yeah, and so Hound Dog Taylor's from there, and talk about another great slide player, and so I'm eating up with it, man, and yeah, I don't think just going back to the community and the community I live in, I don't see myself moving, and so I think in and around Nashville, man, is where you'll find me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
How else can anybody find you besides Marcus King? Is it marcuskingband.com? Are you used to
Yeah,
giving
I
all
think
these
that's
details
it.
out? How do they keep up with y'all?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm pretty bad with social media, but I'll post when I can,
So it's,
and shoot.
yeah, if you want to get in touch with Drew, if you want to see Drew Smithers, you really
Get
just
in
need to
touch
keep
with
an eye on
Bob, and then
Marcus.
he'll,
Keep an
and
eye
then
on
he can.
Marcus King's schedule. Marcus is
Yeah,
never not touring. He's never not doing something. And
be on
Marcus
the road
posts a
for
lot
sure.
online. He's a great follow just to, keep track of what you're up to. My
Yeah.
frustration always is the videos that you get and they're just sitting there on Marcus. And I'm like,
Hey, man, that's okay with me. I don't need all the
he's the
attention.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah. He's the
but
man. All right.
also, excuse me. There's another let me take a sip of this real quick. This band called the K Club. Um, Producer I work with in town, Jakir King, we have this like creative thing where he'll just get a bunch of us in a room and we'll write something, and sometimes instrumental or whatever. And but there's a couple of records online that you can check out, the K Club.
The K
And
Club.
yeah, and we're gonna do some stuff later this summer. So I'll be looking forward to that, getting back in the studio and flexing that muscle. So
Yeah, good deal. Good deal. All right. I'm gonna put stop